Okay, so Barcelona have just recorded a resounding victory against Newcastle, but that's not the whole story. In this video, I'm going to be doing a tactical analysis of 3 key moments that define the outcome of this victory. So sit back and let's do this. So the first thing that I want to mention is our left back position. Now, in the course of the game, we had 2 players play in the left back position. So we started with Gerard Martin and then Eric Garcia came on towards the end of the match. Now, the first key moment that I want to point out is the first chance that fell to Elanga in the 5th minute. Okay, now I want you to have a look at this because Newcastle came with a game plan. And I don't necessarily think Barcelona did the same. Obviously, we sort of seemed like the favourites. So our game is usually just to do what we do, and that's play beautiful football. But I think that more times than not, you find that against Barcelona, teams sort of look for our weakness because they know that they can't outplay Barcelona, and they sort of use that against us. And that's what Inter Milan did in the Champions League last season. And now Newcastle came with that same tactic because look, early on in the match, they figured out that we didn't have Balde, and so they identified Gerard Martin as a weak link. Obviously, we know that he can be a bit clumsy, he's not too quick, and he's not too physical. So they decided to hone in on that because right from the get-go, in the 4th minute, the first chance that fell to Gordon started off on their right flank. That's on our left, where Gerard Martin was playing. Now, if you look at this chance, when the pass was about to be given to Elanga, now this is something I want you to look at. Gerard Martin is isolated against Elanga. Now, we know Elanga is quicker than him and stronger than him as well. So how do you leave him isolated? Because I think Flick didn't pay attention to that. When you have this sort of weakness in your team, what you usually do is to have 2 people marking the danger man. And Elanga was the danger man for them because a lot of their chances came from that particular wing. So we already knew that we had a weakness, but we didn't necessarily do anything to fix it. Now, if you look at this, Elanga is isolated already with Gerard Martin because everyone else is running towards the middle. Now, there's Gordon in the middle and then there's Barnes coming in at the end. So there's 2 players, Kubasi and Araujo, are sort of running towards our goal and both marking Gordon. Now, they've left Elanga isolated against Gerard Martin. That's a mistake. Now, Rashford was also out on the left. What you usually get when that happens is you let your left winger support your fullback. And so there's 2 against 1. That's what we should have done. If it was a better team, that would have been a goal because if you look at that opportunity, he's already beaten Gerard Martin very easily and then lays a ball into the box that Gordon misses. I promise you, a better striker would have put that away. So that's the number 1 issue that I think Barcelona should have fixed. And I'm so surprised that Flick didn't seem to do anything about that because throughout that first half, Gerard Martin was totally isolated against Elanga, and that was very dangerous. Like, there was a lot of dangerous balls, and Newcastle just couldn't capitalize. Now, the next big chance that fell to Newcastle came in the 22nd minute, and again, it was from Gerard Martin's position, the left flank. Look, Rashford loses the ball to Trippier. Trippier then lays a pass down to Gumiraj. Now, look at where Gerard Martin is. Rashford's already lost the ball. You're the left back. You're supposed to be racing back because now you're vulnerable. He's not racing back. He has his eye on Kevin Trippier and then Gumiraj has run in behind him. Look, and that pass goes past him. Now he's trying to run back, which then forces Kubasi to then go out of position. Look, Kubasi's out of position now and they're trying to do the offside thing. Still, look at the position of Frankie de Jong and look at where Gerard Martin is. Mind you, he's the left back. And this is what I talk about defensive awareness. Now, you're meant to be looking at what's happening around you, especially in your position. Now, he's not looking, he's not aware. Look at when Elanga starts to make the run. Elanga's behind him. Elanga then starts to make the run. Look. He's gone past him now. That's the danger. He doesn't spot the danger. And that's where we're in trouble. Barcelona are in trouble there because that defensive awareness isn't there as the left back. And Elanga races past him and that pass is laid out for him. Look, now it's 3v2. Can you see? And so that leaves Araujo and Koundé exposed. Now, because it's 3v2, Koundé is a bit confused. He doesn't know what to do because do you run in and support Araujo and then leave Barnes on his own? Or do you just run forward and hope that you stop the ball? But already the danger has already begun. Now, look. Elanga then races past and then look, Barnes then runs wide. And that's when Koundé understands that, oh my God, we're in trouble because Barnes runs outside of him. Elanga spots it. And as soon as he does, he places that ball, look, straight into his path. And Joan Garcia just saved us on that one, honestly, because that should have been a goal. everyone in the stadium, including Flick, thought that that was a goal. So that left back position, honestly, we didn't do enough to protect ourselves, knowing fully well that that was a weakness. And I think that if we don't take care of that, teams will continue to target us. If we're not able to get a left full back in January, which I don't think that we will, Gerard Martin needs to sort of improve his game. I think he needs to improve in terms of his defensive awareness and just that footballing intelligence, because it is really lacking. Okay, but that wasn't all. Let's go to Newcastle's goal. Eric Garcia then comes on for Gerard Martin. And mind you, Eric Garcia is not a left back. So I'm going to cut him some slack because of that. But still, that defensive awareness was lacking. Because look, just look at this run of play. Newcastle did really well, actually. They passed the ball around a few times. And then as soon as they're able to break through the halfway line, look, Gumaraj gives the ball to, I think, Tonali, who then passes the ball to Watermat. And then look at what's happening right now. Watermat then has the ball. At this point then, look at Eric Garcia, look at his position, look at who he's going to sort of mark. That guy's offside. So there's no need running towards him. And sort of he became like a decoy, because while Eric Garcia is going towards him, he's not seeing what's happening just behind him. And that's where he's actually meant to be. So as a fullback, how can you have somebody that is wide of you? That's your man. That is not Eric Garcia's man. His man is right behind him. Look. And so because he's not aware, again, that defensive awareness is not there. So because he's not aware, as soon as Gumaraj gives that pass, that's when Eric Garcia then spots the danger. But even when he spots the danger, he doesn't make the right run, because look, at that point, you're meant to be desperate. Like, you're meant to make a desperate run. And the reason for this is if you run to close down the winger, what then happens is he's not able to settle down well enough to put a good cross in. And that's the mistake that Eric Garcia made, because if you look, he's running towards sort of like the striker and then he's blocked off. Look, he's blocked off because he's running on the inside instead of running on the outside. And you're meant to be desperate at that point. If you have to foul him, if you have to push him down, go ahead and do that, because you're not the last man. The worst that can happen is you get a yellow card. Push him down, do whatever. But again, that physicality, that desperation, that fighting spirit is not there, because he was easily just held down. Look. He's held on. He's holding on to him. He's not letting him run. And Eric Garcia is still facing to run straight. So who's gonna be on him? Who's gonna be on the winger? And he doesn't do that. And so he makes it really easy. Look, he's all alone. He's all alone and he picks out the pass easily. And obviously that's a goal all day long. All day long, that's a goal. So look at Eric Garcia still. At the time that Gordon is scoring that goal, Eric Garcia isn't marking anybody because he went for the wrong man. And even Araujo at some point had to go across to have to make up for him. And that's how your defensive shape is ruined. And that's exactly what happened. How is the centre-back in the left-back position and the left-back is in the centre-back's position? Look. And that's partly because we don't have a proper substitute left-back for Balde, because Eric Garcia is not a left-back. So he's probably thinking he's still playing in centre-back, and that's exactly why that happened. So honestly, we need to fix that left-back position. It's either Flick tries to help Gerard Martin improve, or things are going to get worse. Teams are going to figure this out and continue to target this. This happened against Inter when Gerard Martin made Dumfries look like a world beater, and he's not. He's not a world-class player, but he looked like it against Barcelona because we didn't have a proper left-back. And you'd have thought that we've learned from our mistakes, but we haven't. And I think that's a huge hole in Barcelona's team that needs to be plugged. And I don't think people are paying attention. I think everyone's getting a bit carried away by the win. And these are things that we just need to bear in mind. Now, the second key moment in the match that I wanted to talk about, I know everyone's talking about Pedri and Frankie de Jong, but that's not it. It's Rafinha out on the right. Now, to me, in this match, Rafinha was an unsung hero. That's how I saw it, because obviously, we know that Rafinha has been playing on the left wing over the past season and he's been amazing. And he sort of found his rhythm in that left wing. And so playing him on the right, I know that sounds ironic, but it was sort of like playing him out of position because he's not as effective in terms of taking people on as Lamine Yamal. But it's the intelligence with how he handled that wing today was amazing. Now, there's no better way to illustrate this than with our first goal, because I want you to take a look at this. Now, it was a good passage of play where Firmino wins the ball just in front of our 18-yard box. He then passes the ball to Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong then passes the ball to Koundé. Now, there's space on that right. Koundé then locates Rafinha Now look at Rafinha. He's picked up the ball and he's seen the space. So he's moving forward and then the defenders are going back. That's intelligent because he's buying time for us to have numbers forward, and that's an intelligent player. Because some players will just look forward and they don't see anyone because there's not too many people there, and immediately they start cutting back. And that just kills the rhythm of the game. But he's intelligent. So look, he takes on the defenders and he does really well. It's the control, it's the hold-up play, and he did that all night long. Now, when it gets cramped, it's a lovely bit of skill that he does there. Really intelligent to keep the play alive. Mind you, I said Rafinha did this all night. He was really, really good at holding up the play and inviting more players forward. Now look, because we needed an outlet on the wing, and that's exactly what he provided us. Because look, at that point, we had a lot of numbers forward. And now he releases the ball to Frankie de Jong, immediately then runs inside to drag the defender with him. And that's how Koundé is then isolated with just one man. Can you see that? And so by the time that Koundé puts that ball inside, Rashford is able to finish with the header. And that brings me to my third point, Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford was brilliant tonight. But this is the reason why we signed Rashford, because a lot of people were criticizing Barcelona, saying we needed defenders, and I'm not going to argue that we do need that. But Marcus Rashford was an amazing addition to the team, and that is starting to show, because we said it last season, players were overworked because we didn't have enough depth and we had a lot of injuries. Now, Lamine Yamal has been injured. Remember when he got injured last season? We went on that run of losses. Now, Lamine Yamal is injured on a big Champions League game. And who comes in to fill in for him? Rashford. But it's not just because of what Rashford offers us on the flank. Look at this goal. This is a pure striker's goal. And Rashford himself has said this. I can play as a forward. I can play as a number 9. And that's the difference. Because he understands English football. Look, being direct, that directness. This is a striker's goal. This is sort of headers that we'll see from Rafinha that made him so successful last season. And now we have Rashford being able to do that, because this is what you'd expect Lewandowski to do. And you can see Kevin Trippier is on Lewandowski. And I was actually thinking when Koundé was going to cross that ball that he was going to go to Lewandowski. But he went for Rashford. And Rashford converted because he has it in him to be a number 9. And that was really, really, really key. That goal was what took the sting out of Newcastle's game. That's what sort of like silenced the crowd in a sense. And then if you look at Rashford's second goal, this is where Lewandowski is really important because of those aerial balls. Because Newcastle had really tall defenders. But Lewandowski was really firm in the way that he was winning those aerial balls. And he was really giving Newcastle a lot of problems. Now look, that ball is played in by Araujo. Just a normal ball floated in the air. Lewandowski is then struggling for it, and then Newcastle unable to deal with it. And so that's how the ball falls to Rashford, who then, it's a brilliant strike. Take nothing away from the strike. That was a moment of brilliance. But this is the point. Newcastle were so sort of occupied with looking at Lewandowski, look at Livramento, tracking Rafinha. And that's the thing about having a lot of options. Because when your star players are being marked, you can then leave opportunities for other people to be able to strike. And that's why you need quality all around the pitch, because that's something that we had that Newcastle didn't have on the night. And yeah, so for me, those are 3 key moments that I felt defined yesterday's game. Now, an honourable mention, because I just wanted to talk about 3 defining moments. Now, an honourable mention is something that everyone already knows, and that's Pedri and Frankie de Jong. And this is after we went 2 goals up, honestly. And you can tell by the reaction that the whole footballing world, especially in England, have been talking about these 2 guys. Pedri and Frankie de Jong. I haven't seen them perform this great in a long time as a duo. Tonight was amazing, and I'm happy that they did it in Europe, because a lot of times Pedri puts up this masterclass performances and it just goes unnoticed in terms of the wider European world. And I think like people sort of like underrate Pedri, or people sometimes try to ignore how brilliant he is. But I think when you do it in the Champions League, no one can deny it because everyone's watching. And it was so impressive watching both of them just kill the game off. Do you know what I mean? Like kill the game off. If it wasn't for that little lapse in concentration that sort of like got Newcastle back in the game, I think it would have been a clean sweep. Because talk about game management, Pedri is a killer. Like he does, you know, he's not really physical. But what he's able to do is this little give and goes. So what he does is he doesn't let you get near him. He's so intelligent that he draws you in and then he passes the ball, or he dribbles past you, or he does a turn. He just does something and loses his marker, and then he gives the ball to Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong turns and gives it back to Pedri. and just keep doing this and killing off the game. Is that give and go. That's so intelligent, and that kills off the game. And I think that's an honourable mention for me. And the reason why I put that as an honourable mention is because I didn't want what Rafinha did today to go unnoticed. It had to be said. But all in all, it was an amazing game, amazing victory for Barcelona. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect performance from us, but it was a really strong performance considering that we were playing away and we went into St. James Park in England and then we came out with a victory. That's a very, very solid performance. So take nothing away from the performance. Kudos to Barcelona. And if you enjoyed this tactical analysis, let me know in the comment section so I can keep doing more videos like this. As always, guys, see you soon. And Visca el Barça.